Well, welcome everybody here. This is Mark Harris, and we are live on this speaker mega hangout, and we've got a great little group for us here. I got my illustrious co-host, Deborah Owen. Say hi, Deborah.
Hey, everybody. Glad to be here with you.
Okay, we got some of the brightest and best in the speaking world here with us today, and we're just going to do a quick introduction, and we're going to spend a little time with each person. And first and foremost, we have with us Gail Kingsbury. Say hi, Gail.
Hey, everybody.
Okay, so Gail, of course, is such a powerhouse in this industry. We're going to spending some time talking about how to get on some of the best stages. We also have Ken Rashan. Say hi, Ken.
Hello, how are you, Mark? Hello, everyone.
Fantastic. Justin Devonshire. Say hi, Justin.
Hey, everybody.
All right, in a few minutes, we're going to also be having Dustin Matthews. He was in another call. He's going to be joining us mid-conference here. So as we go into this, we're going to be talking about really what are the biggest strategies for anybody as a speaker to really take their business to the next level. I don't care what level you're at. Even though this is mainly an advanced call, most of the things we're going to be talking about will help any speaker, because eventually you'll get to the point where you need to learn about some of the things we're talking about here. And so if you want to be on the biggest and best stages, if you want to engage more audiences, if you want to build an awesome back-end business out of your speaking career and get to the point where you will really take audiences to places where they may not have gone before, where you could take your ideas that can change the world and to do some amazing things by changing somebody's life, changing their family, changing their business, changing communities, changing the world with your thought leadership and with your ideas that can help them in great ways. So we're going to talk about how you can do that and how you can make money with that and all the different strategies. Each person here has been selected to talk about different areas of the leading speaking strategies, and you're going to learn some stuff that will really take you to the next level. So let's first start with Gail here. Basically, Gail is one of my favorite people in the whole world because she allows people who are speakers to really be brilliant in what they do. She's done this with everybody you can imagine, from Tony Robbins developing his back end, T. Harv Eker with taking the secrets of the millionaire mind, managing 168 events per year. And of course, he sold that off for lots of millions of dollars, but literally doing that for lots of big name people. And so welcome to the call, Gail.
Hi.
Again. All
Thanks
right.
for having me.
From your perspective, it's our pleasure. It's our pleasure. Tell us a little bit about what you do from your perspective, and just tell us about and why you love your career so much and what you've done over the last 30 years. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I mean, I've been working with some of the best for almost 30 years now. And, you know, everything from answering the phone at the front desk to managing 15,000 people events and being in charge of putting every single speaker on stage at many, probably hundreds, if not 1,000 or plus events over the years. And what I do is I work with speakers and authors and trainers, and I help them find the right stages. I think one of the things I do really well is find the right person to put in front of the right audience. And the cool thing is that I get to play this little part in making a bigger difference in everybody's lives. And I think that's really pretty great. And there's so much good information out there that needs to be on stage and needs to reach these people. I love being able to be that conduit, and I have been for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
I started when I was 10.
You started when you were what?
Just kidding.
That's funny. Okay, that's awesome. I love it. So you're still 29. I get it. Okay.
Right.
All right. So, well, let's talk a little bit about, okay, so the strategy. If you had to tell, hey, what is one of the leading or top strategies that you would tell a speaker? I know you work in the event space in a big way and you worked on the other side, but you've also, you know, managed one of the top, you know, speaking bureaus in the country, getting people like on, you know, Inc. 500 stages and all that. 2/3 of an event, you know, would be people that you brought to the table for them. And we know that that's really for the big boys, but how does a speaker get to the point where they can ramp themselves up like that, or at least talk about some of the strategies that will get them to that point eventually in their career? What do you think about that?
Well, I think especially if you want to do corporate and association, you know, speaking where you're getting paid, it's not about what you're selling on stage, because there's two different mindsets for those. But for, you know, if you wanted to be on the Inc. stage, you know, and you're not yet ready to be their keynote speaker, you know, you're not Elon Musk or something, they have hundreds of breakout sessions. And that's a really great place to be able to hone your skills, to network, and to have, you know, an icon like you spoke at the Inc. 500, or you spoke at, you know, CES, which is a gigantic show that takes over all of Las Vegas. The most important thing that any speaker can do is know what you're speaking about and be clear when you're communicating either to the planner or to a speakers bureau. Your biggest mistake is saying, I can speak on anything, what do you need? Because instantly my brain turns off. I'm like, okay, so you don't really know what you're doing. And I'm only looking for experts.
I like that.
So even if you have like a big variety maybe of topics, you really need to be clear in that, you know, I'll teach your audience everything they need to know about sales or customer service and leadership, because then you just hit 3 topics, but you didn't tell me you could do anything. If that makes right?
That sounds like it's important for the speaker to be able to understand, you know, what it is that they're offering. What does that do for the audience too? What's the benefit? Why is that important for the audience as well?
Right. You know, I was doing a consulting call just the other day and looking at somebody's website, and, you know, he's a great speaker and does a lot of really good stuff. But his website just said, hire me. And for the tab for the speakers. And, you know, I mean, unless you're really thinking about it, you know, me on the other end of looking at that, it's like, hire me. That means just give me money. It has nothing to do with what you're going to do for me. And as a speaker, your entire job when you're on stage is to give to that audience. Before you get on stage is to tell the planner what you're going to give to that audience, which in turn is giving that meeting planner what they need for the confidence, you know, to hire you. If, as long as you're approaching meeting planners and event producers with the mindset of your audience is going to love you because you put me on stage, that's the biggest thing you could do. Make me look like a star, even if nobody ever knows it except for my boss. That's your first goal. Your second goal is to deliver when you get on stage, if you want to get hired. I mean, that's a better way to get paid.
Okay, so we got a bunch of people changing their websites right now to hire me. It's off. Okay.
It doesn't say hire me. It says event planners, or, you know, like something that tells me that you took enough time that you actually paid attention to what I need as a planner. It's customer service.
That's awesome.
It's knowing your audience.
That's fantastic. I love that.
when you know your audience, you're able to provide what they need.
Right, and there's a difference. Right, there's a difference between audiences, right? It's almost like when you're working in corporate America, you have an internal customer, which is the other people that you work with. And I think that a lot of speakers, if you can change your mindset so that your internal audience is actually the people that are going to hire you. Some people come to me and they're like, well, every audience loves me, and I can do this, and I can do that, and I can do the other thing. You didn't tell me why they love you. You didn't tell me what they're going to learn. You didn't tell me anything about how I'm going to achieve the outcome of this meeting.
Wow.
So.
I love that. I love that so much, because, you know, some of the things, that conversations that Gail and I have had, you and I've had, especially the puzzle thing, which of course isn't really relevant here, but all those little neat things that she does. Think about it. It makes all the sense in the world. If you can do everything, you can do nothing. And of course, you got to show how you can make a big difference in the way that you can make a big difference. Because Gail has no idea, or any event planner or event manager has no idea about how you can be different. That is such a, I mean, it makes sense that you have to do the hard work of looking at the event and saying, how can I make that event special with what you're brilliant at? That's beautiful. I love that.
Right.
I love that. Well, so tell us a little bit about, if you had to tell every speaker who was really trying to make a difference in the world, and they had this idea, and you had to tell every speaker one thing, what do you think you would tell them?
That one thing.
No,
I've seen that guy on a horse. I think that one thing is really, it just goes back to what we just said. It's being clear in your communication. It is before you even having that communication is knowing the outcome. You know, in sales, it's just seeing the sale. It's knowing that you've got this, even if you don't. Like, even if you're practicing and you're just going to be speaking at the Rotary Club, they may not hire you if you don't have that confidence. And maybe it's going to be your first speech and your hands are sweating like mine always do, and you just don't even know what to say. As if go in knowing that you are absolutely the right person for that. That's the biggest thing, is making sure that you have that confidence if you're a new speaker. If you're a seasoned speaker, it's making sure that you're not so overconfident that I want you to go away.
Wow, that's really neat. I like that a lot. That's really neat, because the difference between the two, of course, was what separates the professionals from the overly arrogant, I guess.
Well, humility is a good quality.
Yeah, it is. It really is. It's beautiful. Well, I love that. Okay, so anybody else have any questions for Gail real quick? I know I do. I got a bunch of them. So let me ask you this. Okay, at the Speaker Author Mastermind, I know you can't be at that particular one that we're getting ready to do, but you're going to be at our other event, which is the Event Producers Mastermind. Let's take it just the other flip side of this for a second. And what would be, just tell us one of the most interesting stories you have about the event speaker realm. Just pick any of the stories you've worked with anybody, and just what you think would be really fun for everybody to know about regarding anything that's happened to you, kind of a funny thing or a crazy thing, just that worked for an event or a speaker.
Well, some of them, if I tell you, I'd have to kill you. But, let's see.
She doesn't have to kill the rest of us, does she?
Oh man, that's good.
I think okay, so recently, just here, we had a huge event in Toronto, and 5,000 people, sold out show in Toronto, and we had Les Brown on first. However, the promoter hadn't streamlined his registration system, and they didn't test it all before we had to get 5,000 people in through one door. And that was, it was a fascinating experience in that, I didn't want to put Les on with an empty room, and you don't want to push your event late from the beginning. So, as an event producer, like, these are things that you have to really pay attention to. How are you going to get your registration through? They just sent you a box full of brand new swipers or beepers or whatever, and you've used them 20 times and you didn't test them this one time.
Wow.
And they're not working. And you got to get paper bracelets on people and get them all through, and your audience isn't, or your volunteers weren't trained enough to just go outside. The line is all the way around the entire arena. People waiting to get in, because the thing is, in Canada, they queue. They're so polite, and they queue in line. In the United States, they mob the door, and you have to run for your life because they're going to run you over. But in Canada, they're just polite, and they queue up in these nice, beautiful lines, and they just wait. And we had to, like, literally send volunteers out telling people to come up and come in through the VIP line and get them into the door. So I think always double looking at processes. That was, I had to put Les on 20 minutes late.
So do you have like a long list of like a checklist? You must have this long checklist of things that have to be done, and people need to know where to
Absolutely. They just brought me in at the last minute, right? and told me because they've done this a million times, right? So, oh yeah, can you fly to Canada tomorrow and help with the event? Sure, I'll be there. And we made it happen. It's just,
So do you think the biggest challenge with that is actually what you have to tell Les, or is, I mean, for you, I mean, he's your best friend practically, but, you know, other than that, I mean, as far as, is it the biggest problem talking to the speaker about the challenge, or you think, I mean, what was the biggest frustrating element for you? Because, I mean, you probably saw it.
The biggest challenge is that we also had Tony Robbins on stage. And Tony, you know, has to be places. So we're running 20 minutes late, and then if somebody else goes late, then the challenge is, you know, when does your big keynoter come over from the hotel, you know, making sure that they know, even though that person might have, you know, they're on private flight and they have wheels up and they're not even going to be off stage yet because things are, so it's moving the pieces and making sure that everything stays on time.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's a tough call. Well, that was a good one. You came up with a good one. I tested you. You passed. You came up with a on the fly example.
It's applicable for anybody who's going to be putting on an event too. You have to recognize that these are the systems that you need to have in place. And if you don't have them in place, you could end up with a big disaster. So it's important.
Well, it doesn't matter if you have 5,000 or 50.
Exactly.
It's the same. Yeah. It's exactly the same. You still have to have the process in place.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate that immensely. So we'll be back with you in a few minutes. If anybody, by the way, has any chime in, you can kind of put your fingers next to your face, and I'll call on you if you need to. But okay, so here's the thing. What we're going to talk about just for a minute here. You know, one of the things we're doing this for is kind of like a preview of our speaker author mastermind. And if you're a speaker who's got a message to get out to the world, and not necessarily a newbie, if you're a newbie, we can help you as well. But this is really something we do for people who are really taking their careers to the next level. And as you can see, we have really the best of the best people who know the industry inside and out that can help you. So one of the things we do is we allow for a strategy session with our team or me, or any of us, if we need to be there for a strategy session to help you to assess where you're at and how to take your speaking or author career to the next level. So if that event during this call or afterwards, if that's of interest to you, all you got to do is click to the right of this page. You should see a button there for getting your strategy session. We'd be glad to talk to you about that, about our mastermind and mentorship programs and things like that that can help you take your business to the next level. Anyway, so let's go on with our next guest, which is, of course, Ken Rochon. Hello, Ken.
Hello, how are you doing, Mark?
I'm doing
happy
fantastic.
To be here.
What's that?
I'm happy to be here.
Oh, I thought you said Happy New Year. I'm like, oh, we'll speak for food.
Yeah. Gail, you motivated that when you said
You're hired. I can cook.
I can speak on anything.
Okay, so if you don't know Ken is, I mean, almost every event I'm at, Ken is at, because he is the visual arts provider, if you will, to these guys, and they take the photographs of an event and to distill it and to take it and to bring it to the world so that it can be remembered forever. Because, you know, once you're at an event, if you don't take photographs of it or video it or something, of course, it's gone forever. And if you get somebody like Ken, who's really a world-class expert in photography, as well as some other things like social media, taking this message. I mean, one event I was at, he had like 3 million total reach just from the photographs being duplicated out and shared and all that from just one event. So if somebody needs a social media effect of an event, Ken is the man. So there's a lot going on with that. But anyway, Ken, tell us a little bit about, from your perspective, what you think you do for your clients and why you think that's important.
Well, the number one thing is I amplify what they're doing online, because a lot of people have a beautiful offline presence and they sometimes miss the fact that that's a secret to most of the world. So they're in a room and they're tearing it up. The audience is alive. They're loving the speaker. And then no one knows about it outside the room. There's no social proof capture. There's no connection with the audience to follow them online. And there's a big gap between how powerful they are on the stage versus how powerful they are when you look them up on social media.
You know what? That is brilliant. I mean, think about that. I mean, ultimately, let's just think you were speaking at that 5,000 person event that Gail was just managing, and all of a sudden you were, I mean, brilliant. Everybody loves you. But you know what? If the world doesn't see you in front of that audience, if they don't see you being brilliant in front of that audience, that is a really big problem, isn't it? You know?
Right. I mean, you look at someone like Grant Cardone. He's really brilliant at making sure that he has a media person there, that he's got his social media on cue at all times. He's almost a walking TV show. So that's the extreme, but it's really interesting that someone that is a brilliant speaker on stage that is not good with the social media is always looking for the next job. It's very much a uphill climb of marketing, whereas someone that knows how to connect with the audience offline and online, they have that congruency and they keep their message alive so that the viral aspect and the marketing aspect keeps their work coming in. And they don't have to work for food. They don't have to speak for food.
Exactly. So let's talk about, okay, the strategy. So in other words, if you had what do you consider to be the top strategy that really speakers need to start implementing in order to, really take their speaking career to the next level? Maybe, I mean, it sounds like that's related to this too.
It is. I think the first thing is coming up with a strategy plan, a campaign. So if it takes, I don't know, 21 times for people to take you seriously that you're a speaker, if you don't have that many frequencies on your Facebook page, then it's already a daunting task to convince people you're serious and that you have a career doing that. So I'd say that's the most important thing you'd want to do is design perhaps a 21-week speaking campaign that is constantly being captured and reminding people that you're out there, you're making a difference in the world, you have impact, and every single time you speak, that you're collecting a whole slew of reviews that you really gave value to the audience.
That makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. What are some of the other benefits of that kind of a campaign? What does it look like, and what are some of the benefits? Why is that important?
Well, first of all, making sure that since most people are on Facebook, they're going to look you up there, and then LinkedIn or at least one or other platform. But if you have Facebook and you do not have a business page, a fan page, then I think you're missing the boat on the fact that you're running a personal campaign that is just bragging about having friends instead of actually fans. So fans help go well beyond the viral limit of 5,000, which a Facebook personal page would not do. The second thing is I've seen so many speakers that are not utilizing the brilliant money shot, and I give Dave Van Hoos from Speaking Empire accolades for this, because he was very big on telling me, hey, get behind that speaker when he's speaking to a huge audience, get that money shot for them, and you will have a new relationship with that speaker. So I'm a very big proponent of making sure that you're seeing a massive room, huge audience, and the speaker engaged with lots of energy, and that is a marketing shot that will just get you so much business.
Huge.
That makes sense. So you're saying basically make sure that you have somebody who's like an expert at this, like yourself, or maybe even a part of your network, that can come in and make sure they get the right angle. That not only shows you speaking, shows the intensity and the excitement and enthusiasm that you have, but also shows, as many of the thousands of people as possible in the shot. So you got that whole thing laid out in a way that is, like, we'll call it instantaneous social proof, something like that.
Right, and then that's one variable, one component, and then the other component, of course, that most people are missing is telling the secret. We want to make sure that it's a marketable shot. So we want someone that's a strategist with social media that knows how to connect with all the other speakers, that's giving value to all the other strategic partners there, the sponsors. And I think it's a very good investment to go up to a photographer if you don't have a social media photographer and say, hey, here's some coin, here's a little bit of money to make sure you get me 5 minutes of shots, and prepay the guy and make sure you're getting that collateral, because without that collateral, you're just missing a marketing opportunity online. And it does cost you. The continuation of speaking without proof is going to cost you way more than the shots would have.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about I know you're going to be speaking at the Speaker Author Mastermind coming up. Tell us a little bit about what you're going to be talking about there, so that everybody who's a speaker, I know we have this year, just so everybody understands, what ends up happening is the Speaker Author Mastermind is really a private event for high-level, high-end speakers and authors. But once a year, we have an annual event that we allow for guests to come, and this is the one coming up. So Ken is one of our expert guests who's going to be sharing some of these strategies in detail and how you can take it to the next level. So Ken, tell us a little bit about how that's going to, what you're going to talk about, and why speakers would be excited about wanting to be there.
Well, the topic is how you actually get on more stages, because you're on stage already. How does that help you get to more stages? So the topic is social proof viral campaign. Social is what people are talking about. The proof is that you're doing big things in the world. The viral is that it's time relevant. And the campaign part, which is the most important part, is that it's consistent. The integrity of what you're doing and committed to shows up no matter who looks you up. So I'm going to be showing tactics of how you actually make sure you're milking every single action you take so that you get a lot more opportunities. And that's probably the best thing that could bring to the event.
Okay, so if you had one person, like if they would say, okay, well, give me an example of that so I can be tangible, that people would say, okay, what are you going to help me do? How is that going to, I mean, how could what you're going to do help me get on stage? It sounds like, what is it about? Give them a little bit of a, we'll call it teaser.
Sure. So if you look at the gap that someone has between how they are offline, so let's say they're on stage and we have the audience rate them as a powerful speaker, and they get a 9 or a 10. That's fantastic. And then we look them up on the social media, and maybe the page is a bit dead. Maybe they have 2 reviews. They're talking about on the page is, I don't know, 100 or something like that. That would be maybe a rating of 1 or 2. So that gap is holding back them from getting a lot of business. So what I would do is I would teach them how to make sure they're closing the gap every single time by when they make an action like going to an event that they have someone they're connecting with for the photography. We obviously know what we're doing with connecting the content to the distribution to the actual strategy of where they're actually going to do. I'm sure the audience is familiar with Malcolm Gladwell. So Malcolm Gladwell has 2 great books. One's called Tipping Point, and the other one's called Outliers. And so if you want your audience to see that you actually are doing a lot of great speaking and a lot of impacting a lot of value, you need to have a tipping point happen on your Facebook page. And it will happen if you're every single week giving value to the audience and showing it up on the people that are following you. And what happens also is as you have people follow you on Facebook, you start having people go to the events to support the people that are hiring you, especially if it's an open event. So that's very exciting when you become a person that has such a huge following. It's as valuable as an email list. And I know that if there's a choice between one great speaker who has a following and one great speaker who doesn't have a following, I know which one's getting the job.
That makes sense. Does that stuff show up on like Google if they type their name in or anything like that?
Yeah, massively. If you're at an event and you're getting these photos and you're tagging them correctly and you're actually really consistently making sure you're connecting yourself to brands, influencers, and obviously the people who are hiring you, it's all searchable. And I can tell you that if you look at Facebook public figure pages, 99%, and I may be a little high there, but I'm not off by much, are dead. They're absolutely like just a boring page. And they're boring from several standpoints. They're boring because the content is not consistent or the engagement is almost nil. They're not boosting. Like if I was getting a picture on a stage and I had Tony Robbins to the left or right of me, I would boost that photo and I would make sure it reaches all event planners. I'd make sure it reaches all people that are decision makers and companies, et cetera, because I want that frequency to count. But then you got to back it up that that's not a luck shot. You have to have it that next week I'm with this person, next week I'm with that person. And I think the initial part is the investment of making sure that you're connecting with someone like yourself, Mark, and find out where these big events are so that you are at the right place, the right time to get the proof.
That seems to make a lot of sense. Gail, you were nodding a little bit. Do you agree with some of that? Do you think that helps you at all?
I agree with everything you said, yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. Okay.
I mean, I do those things when I'm hiring people. I immediately go and I check their Facebook and how many fans do they have. And some people that I absolutely adore and who are fabulous, and their Facebook page has, even their fan page has 7,000 people. And then you go and you look at somebody else on the same topic, and especially if it's a public event, and I want them to be pushing it out there to help with that. And that this person has 200,000 people on there. It's a decision maker.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, that was great, Kenneth. I do appreciate you on that. I'm looking forward to hearing a lot more about that. And we're at the end, we'll have a closing minute other than your little chime-ins about we'll speak for food. All right. Well, as it turns out, Dustin is right on time. Well, he wasn't fashionably late or anything like that, but he showed up, and you know what? He came through us as usual. Hello, welcome, Dustin. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing excellent. Can you hear me okay?
You hear great. You sound great. Not you hear great. You sound great. Anyway, so that's good. I'm glad you made it, even though you had that other appointment that you had to be at. I appreciate you coming in. So
yeah, it's been one heck of a day. I'm excited to be here.
Well, you know, you just got done launching your new book with about presentations with Dan Kennedy. That was really awesome. And is it there? Oh yeah, show it to us. Show everybody. Show everybody.
I was kind of doing it too fast so that you wouldn't even know, but subconsciously would know.
It's a subliminal message there.
Enough of that.
Okay. No, that's fantastic. I'm really excited that you were. That's a great book. I love it. So let's talk a little bit about you. Now, Dustin's, he's done over 3,000 events himself. Done a lot in the real estate field, and of course helped a lot of people in the speaking world as well with their company, with his partner Dave Van Hoos and their team. And so tell us a little bit about what you look at yourself as doing and why you think that's so important.
I'm on the hunt for people like me. And what I mean by that was I was afraid to do speaking. I know we're at the speaker author mastermind hangout here, but I was a guy that in school, I was afraid to do it. And I found a loophole out of having to take the class of public speaking. And so it's funny because I was hiding out in life. And so I really know that a lot of people have a message, especially authors and speakers. And so I'm really just on the hunt to find those folks and empower them and say, listen, speaking's not as bad as you think it is, and it has massive benefit. And I know I'm speaking to the choir, everyone on the hangout, but there's a lot of introverts and a lot of people afraid to do it. And so really that's my mission, is to find those emerging leaders and just help them find that message and monetize it so they can keep doing it.
Oh, that makes sense. Well, that's good. Well, hey, that's the deal. And I love that. You know what? It's like a mission in life kind of stuff. So that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I love that. All right. So if you had to tell, speakers, one big strategy, sorry about that. My computer is connected to my phone. Anyway, so if you had to tell everybody one strategy that they can use to grow their business we'll call it an advanced strategy for speakers who are already speaking on stages.
Okay.
They're already, they've got a successful business in some kind. They're brilliant. They're good at what they do. But some strategy could help them, take it to the next level. What do you think that current strategy would be?
I thought you were going to stump me on this, and then it came in at the very end. So I'm very glad that you just kept adding to that question, because I didn't know where I was going to take it. And so it reminds me back when I first got started, I started helping speakers. I was behind the scenes, Mark. I started helping speakers with their marketing. And so I find a lot of speakers, like my partner, Dave, in the business. He's a great communicator. He loves to speak, but he doesn't want to do the marketing stuff. And as you know, in business, you can give a great talk, but it's the fortune and the follow-up, and it's the things that you do afterwards, the direct mail, the adding them to your email list. And so I think the biggest piece of advice I can give, it's so simple, it's easy, people have heard it, which is really build your audience. People called it build a list back in the day, and direct mail, you build your direct mail list way back in the day. And so I think as a speaker, you need to consider having a platform and building your audience, and just be cognizant of where it's going, like Facebook Lives, and just be willing to have your audience across multiple things. So I know that was a lot. So that's my answer.
So what you're saying is to have a multiple platforms then, really, in order to grow an audience. The primary objective is to have an audience that's growing, and however you do that is the way to do that. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Build your platform, or build your audience, build your platform. Those can kind of go hand in hand, but also be looking. Like the big thing I'm on right now is diversification. So what I mean by that is people email, and I've been emailing, but I have challenges getting those emails delivered. And so now, I'm building an audience on Instagram. I'm building an audience in Facebook Messenger using ManyChat. I'm not going to get technical, but the thing is email could go away. The government could tax email, or, deliverability rates can go down. And so I really want communicators, thought leaders, to really diversify and just share their message on all the platforms, because some people like Snapchat, some people like Instagram. And so that's what's on my mind right now.
That's great. My one question is, though, for somebody, for one person, perhaps, where does it become too overwhelming to have too many platforms? How do you determine that?
Yeah, that's a good point. So when you are first getting started, or when you are just one person and you don't have a team, it's tough. And so you got to leverage, you got to do good old Pareto's principle, 80-20. And so you got to invest your time. And so you can't do it all, because you'll spread yourself thin. You won't get to spend time with family, and life will suck, quite frankly. And so you do want to leverage at that point. But what I would ask that person to do is think about, well, what's their monetization strategy? And are they investing enough money back into the marketing? Because you can sell products and services, but the real value nowadays is building the audience. And so if you don't just keep taking from your business and taking the money out, but reinvesting, it's a balance. I'm not saying it's easy. Build that platform, build that audience, because that thing will serve you. It's the golden goose, and you don't want to I don't want to give anything graphic here, but you don't want to kill the goose. So just be careful.
That makes sense. Well, let's talk about, okay, so this is good. I love that. The multi-channel marketing thing is obviously a big deal because, we're calling the disintermediated media. Back when I was a boy, they had 100 million people watching 3 stations.
Yeah.
And that was easy to determine where you're going to spend your advertising dollars and so forth. But the same thing is happening now. There's hundreds of millions of channels of place where people can, they hang out in all these different places. And of course, none of us can get to all of those, but you can do a good job of trying. Yeah. Anyway, so I love that approach, and it obviously makes sense. Somebody's got to wrap their hands around it. Hopefully you'll talk a little bit about that at the Speaker Author Mastermind. Tell us a little bit about what you plan on talking about at Speaker Author Mastermind and why that's so important for somebody who's trying to grow their speaking business, and why that's, why they really need to hear the message you're going to be talking about.
Well, first off, I'm going to talk about standing out and how impressed I am with Ken Rashawn, because he's got red ear headphones, and that really makes him pop on a Google Hangout. I love it. I love it. I got to give you some love and give some love to Gail. Hey, Gail, love you. And so at Speaker Author Mastermind, I'm going to talk about whatever you want me to talk about, Mark. And so whatever is most beneficial. I know we had talked about some ideas and some concepts, but I'm really happy to be transparent and open. And so, Mark, if we did settle in on an idea, maybe you can spoon feed it to me and I can go a little further.
Well, it makes all the sense. You know what's really interesting about our masterminds, and since you brought that up, I'll just talk. So one of the things that happens is the first day, what we do is we spend a lot of time flushing out the real problem, okay, or the real opportunity, because some people look at an opportunity as a problem, or they look at it, okay, this is my opportunity, but I have a problem because I haven't solved it yet, and I have a bigger problem because I don't know how to solve that opportunity or to seize it. So what we do is we find out what everybody really needs, and then we take this mastermind of brilliant minds in the event and speaker and author space, and we say, okay, here is the best strategy for you in that particular state. We do one-on-one interaction time with everybody. So, I'm so glad you said that, because the truth of the matter is that's exactly what you should be talking about at the mastermind, which is what people need. If 80% of the group needs, maybe help with presentations, what you and Dan Kennedy put together in presentations makes all the sense, or Dave or whatever. So if it's something about the marketing side, about how to get on more stages and having a good marketing campaign to make that happen, or to, like we talked about one of our last talks about how you can take somebody and which is really brilliant. Actually, could you spend just 2 minutes telling about that, just what you do with people who are going to an event, whether they're speaker or any kind of speaker, and then just a couple of words on it, because I'll give somebody access to that later, but just a little bit on how you help them to really be pre-exposed to the audience at events, which is neat. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. The key word I want folks to realize is demonstration. And so, I think of like what even Ken does as an example. He'll roll to an event, he creates this experience, he takes pictures, and at the end of it, he demonstrates his gift by putting together this kick butt video. And you're like, how did he just pull that off? And so demonstration is key. So like, we as speakers and communicators, we can talk. And that's great. Like, some of us are really good at it. However, when you demonstrate and you show it, and you can demonstrate magic in front of the room, like, that's where it's really powerful. And so what I do is I take someone from the audience, preferably someone I have never met before, because all the great musicians say, hey, we've never met, right? So I model them and I say, listen, hey, let's create your product. Let's create your irresistible offer. And so I demonstrate to the audience, I know my stuff, by getting someone up there unscripted. I ask them some questions. I've got a little whiteboard, or the Elmo, which is my favorite thing to use. And I write out their irresistible offer, but not only that, I sell it back to them. And so I demonstrate the power of an irresistible offer, and how, like, if you just get off your butt and take action, you can create this thing. And I usually take about 30, 45 minutes to create it. And I just show people, like, just do it. So demonstration is the key word. Figure out, how do you demonstrate your gift, your knowledge, not just tell people, but how can you show them your magic in the room?
That's fantastic. Well, I love that a lot. So I'm excited about that, and I know you're going to add a lot of value to it. I'm not sure how long you stay on, you said, but regardless of that, we're gonna go on to our next speaker. But before we do, just in case Gail has to leave, okay, I want to make sure that she has a chance to say her final thought for everybody, because it's going to go a little past the time when I know she can make. Getting 5 world-class thought leaders in the speaking world all together, okay, at the same time is not an easy task. I feel like a juggler. Okay, but you know, the reality is that I appreciate all you guys being on and having this power session that we can kind of help the speaking world really be at the center of the speaking world, and whether it be at the Speaker Author Mastermind or right here on this this 1 hour hangout here. So, Gail, but if you could just give a final thought, just in case you have to leave a little early, because where our next guest is Justin. I don't want to cut him short, and I don't want you to have to leave and feel like you had to leave. So if you can just kind of tell everybody your final thought to everybody, just so that they can know that you love them and care about them, because you are such a caring, loving person. I just, I want to make sure you do that.
Well, I'm going to say as long as I can really hear what I have to say too, and I think it's killing me that won't be at the mastermind, and I think anybody who's on this call can do whatever it takes to make sure that they're there, because having people like this take what Justin said about you know, you're on all of these different platforms, the brilliance of what Ken said on how to be on all those platforms to actually, every single platform still fail if you're not being there, showing up the right way. And, you know, so utilizing different strategies that everybody's bringing together here, you know, I want to go to them, but yeah, it's just great, just, you know, the last 40 minutes being here with all of you.
Well, that's exciting. Well, thank you, Gail. I know if you got to leave, you got to go. We appreciate you so much. Thank you for being here. If I can say it before you leave.
So I absolutely go.
Yeah, you're cutting it all out there. All right, I didn't hear the last word, so if you could say it one more time.
I'm just going to stick around as long as I can. I'm just waiting.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. All right, so we're going to go with Justin here, and Justin Devonshire. Now, Justin not only came in on this, he's from Crete, right? Are you still in Crete right now?
Cyprus.
Oh, Cyprus. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so close enough. It's a 5-letter word beginning with C. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, Justin, why don't you tell a little bit about everybody about your brilliance, why you love to help people, and what you serve them in, and why that's so important.
Cool. Yeah. So it's good to be here with everybody. And I'll just say I just actually finished reading up the No BS Powerful Presentations with Dustin and Dan Kennedy. So that was a brilliant read.
Thanks for that.
So yeah, basically I help a lot of, kind of similar to Dustin in a lot of ways. I help a lot of guys, coaches and experts in the space to basically, it's the guys that are just hitting that kind of 6-figure level, and now they're looking to scale. So they have the confidence to get the message out there. They know they deserve to be on stage, but also from my perspective, it's more about helping them leverage their time and create more scalability. I'm a natural introvert, so I'm not as much as about like the big message as like maybe like a Tony Robbins or someone might be. That's totally important. But for me, I use live events to really start scaling up my income and doing my expert business into a horrible job into something I love. And that's what I help people to do right now, is helping them create more leverage, create more scale, to create more freedom for themselves. And as a side product, you will also create more income, more impact, and have more influence as well.
That's fantastic. All right, so if you had to tell everybody one strategy that could take their business, they're talking about, this is more advanced strategy, and it's also for people who are already some kind of established speaker. They already do speaking engagements. They're trying to take their business to the next level. And there's quality, there's quantity, there's gigs, there's all this different things that people can do. Tell me, what strategy would you tell them is really a top leading strategy for today for them to participate in?
The guys in the call have covered some great stuff, from Gail talking about getting your systems down, Ken to the social media stuff, and Dustin with the multiple communication channels and follow-up. So that stuff's already, that's all important, but it's been covered by the guys. So what I would say is, something that's not talked about as much is systemizing what you do and empowering others to take that message on is going to be a lot easier than you think. I actually trained, because I use live events to grow multiple coaching businesses in different niches. And for example, we use live events to grow our fitness facilities. We have 2 fitness gyms around Europe, and I started using live events to do that. Now, I built one gym in the country of Romania, where I don't even speak the language. I had to get my coaches over there trained up. These are young 20-somethings, no sales experience, no speaking experience. They're just experts in what they do. And within 4 to 5 weeks, I got those guys trained up, speaking, delivering presentations, and closing 50% of the room. And not because I'm so amazingly special, but because I understood the systems and how I did it. So I would say to speakers watching this at that level, don't think that, don't let your events trap you into another job, right? You can actually outsource it. Big Tony's not going to be around forever doing this thing. Half of UPW, he has Joseph and other speakers helping him, right? So, I mean, if Tony can outsource some of his events, us mortals can do it too, right? And so if you're in that space, I would say don't wait for 10 years, 15 years. Start looking for apprentices now, people that also believe in your message, and start systemizing your events, give them recordings, have them attend, and have them start giving them small sections of your events if you're doing this frequently. And before you know it, you can phase them in and phase yourself out. And you can have 2, 3, 4 people, just literally 5x in the size of your business and your scale right now. And they can lead that message for you, because it's not about you, it's about the message, right? Yeah. And so that's one thing I would say to people, you can do that now. You haven't got to wait.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, I love that. Ultimately, I love the acronym for system, right? Which is save yourself time, effort, and money, right? And so that is such an awesome thing. If you can't have it systemized, literally every event becomes literally a whole new business, right? So, if you can literally take everything you've done and systemize it, of course, you're going to save yourself time, effort, and money every single time. And of course, that by itself makes everything more profitable. So I love that. It makes all the sense in the world. Of course, there's lots of specifics. And I don't know if anybody has any questions about a specific they'd like to have Justin talk about, but if you got a specific that maybe of a client, maybe you've helped or something like that, that could be very exciting about them to make it real about a specific maybe element of a system that could be helpful to them.
So yeah, if you want to get someone on board doing this, I'll just walk through how I did it with some of my team, and I've empowered many of my team to go on to speaking events. Really it just starts by as Gail said earlier, know the outcome. Most processes will be systemized anyway for your event, your show-ups, your registrations, your thank you, gratitude, your follow-ups. So really all that's left is the presentation. And again, I'm sure I'm not getting paid to say this, but again, if you go and pick up a copy of the No BS Powerful Presentations, what is that book? It's a systemized version. It's Dan Kennedy and Dustin saying, here's a system to make presentations, right? So you can make a presentation based on that, and if you have someone on your team that can read, then they can take that on, and they'll do it too. So it's systems are not that complicated, right? They're available to you to learn. Just need templates, and the truth is, the first 20% of this is going to be templating or systemizing your presentation and letting them run with it. The other 80% of success is going to be letting your speakers mess up, get things wrong, and learn with experience, like we all did, right? That's the gap that nobody wants to go through when taking on any team members. But they're going to learn fastest by throwing them in. So with my coaches, again, they'd never done any public speaking before. I didn't put them through any training courses. I had them watch me do the talk a couple of times. And then I gave them a video recording of it. And I was like, right, you watch that 4 times a day religiously. And then you're going to go out there and try and make all the mistakes as fast as you can. And they say sometimes they say an expert is just someone who's made all the mistakes they can make in a very narrow field.
I love
so
it.
at first they bombed, right? You know, and they would close maybe 10% of the room. And you've got to prepare for that as a business leader. You've got to take the hit and make up those revenues somewhere else with a strong follow-up. But no, if you just let them go at it, the conversion started ticking back up. And after 5 weeks, they're converting half the room. And if they're doing this as a full-time gig, they'll become better than you eventually, you know, or you should want them to. So that's what I would tell someone getting started.
So my question on that, Justin, is does it take something extra special to try to find the right people who really resonate with your message and want to get that out? And so that would be a separate aspect of this too, is finding the right people, I would think, right?
Yeah. So when it comes to the right people, you know, firstly again, most of it is down to having the right system for the right person. Most people that we say are, you know, bad at their jobs. They're not bad workers or bad people. They're just usually given the wrong tasks for their natural qualities. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be easier, you know, if you find someone with the right personality and qualities. And I define qualities different to skills. You know, skills are like external things we can learn. I learned a skill of speaking, but I'm not natural at it whatsoever. Someone like Tony Robbins is like a natural. It's a quality for him. So it's easy to find someone who has that natural enthusiasm, that likability, that passion to speak, and then just give them a system to follow. Then it's going to be to find someone who's an introvert, and it's going to take them forever to learn, but they can memorize everything, you know? So it comes down to finding, you want a typically more right brain person. So someone who's more creative, emotive, artistic, expressive, who's more socially good. Find a person like that and give them a template, not a script. You can't give someone a script to follow for an event, and they wouldn't respond well to a script. So that right brain creative person just needs a template or a framework to work within, you know, and then let them have that creativity in the middle of it. And again, there's no perfect process for this. It's just going to be experience, trial and error, putting your trust in people, and measuring and observing and leading them, mentoring them as you go along.
Yeah, that's great. Well, let's go. It's going to go into our final words here. So since you were still talking, we'll let you say your final thought for everybody. Kind of like if you had to tell the entire speaking world one thing, you know, or one final thought for them about either the event or yourself, what would you tell everybody there, Justin?
I would tell them, you know, again, I'm gonna be the boring guy that, you know, says that, like we talked about before, nobody really thinks long term enough with this. Everyone's saying, you know, I'm just gonna dip my toe in and see if events work, and we know events work. They're already proven. You don't have to test that for us. We know live events work, and I would say if you're not looking at least a 24-month game plan for events, you're gonna be, you know, set up for disappointment, because it's probably not going to happen for you in the first 4, 5, 6, 7 events. You're just getting your feet wet and paying your dues. You know, I did a whole year. I did about 34, 35 seminars out of my own dime before things really started taking off, because you've got to learn to get good at speaking, learn to get confident, get your systems down. So speakers that try and sell, I did 1 or 2 events, it didn't work, you know, you won't last long in this game. You gotta be thinking.
So we were on the phone with a lady, and she said I could use her name today with Felicia Slattery, and she trains speakers and all that. And she said, "Yeah, I did an event once, okay, and it almost put me in the grave, right?" And so what happens is you do one event like that, and you know, and if you're listening, Felicia, you know, you told me to say this, so I'm going to share it. The fact is, though, is that you really do have to be in it for the long haul with anything, because as soon as, you know, when it comes to it, you got to make sure that you do them right. And of course, this is more for the speaking end, which also should make you want to really appreciate event promoters when you get to speak on their stage, because they go through the hard work. They go through the blood, the sweat, the tears, the time, the effort, the money to put those people in a room so you can speak before them. So you really got to appreciate them. And I know you do, Justin. I've seen some things recently where I said, you know what, this guy really appreciates the event promoters that he works with and stuff. So I saw that in a big way. So thank you for that point. That was really awesome. Okay, Ken, if you had to tell the entire speaking world one thing that they all should hear from you, what do you think that they should hear from you?
Well, I want two. Is that okay?
Okay, because I know you got to do not only the business, where you get one business about the speaking business, one maybe more personal, which I'm sure that's how you broke it up, but go ahead.
Well, first of all, great job, Justin, and that really echoes the Malcolm Gladwell commitment aspect, or you're ready to do 10,000 hours of what you believe in. So I would like to say that having a book that accompanies what you're going to say on stage really ties people in the audience to wanting to keep a hold of you and take you with them. And then the second thing we talked about, Mark, that I didn't get a chance to say earlier, is grab the host of the event and see if you can get a red carpet shout out, so that all the people that loved hearing you on stage can run over and get a picture of with you on the red carpet. And that's just making your social media explode for the day.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. Was that two?
That's two.
Okay, that's good.
Technically 2.5 with Justin's little
okay,
compliment.
there you go. That's fantastic. Okay, so I'd like to at this point thank everybody. But before I do, I just want to say that if you at all see yourself really wanting to get one-on-one interaction times with anybody here or anybody that my other high-level guests who are coming to my speaker author mastermind coming up in later next month, please be sure to click a strategy session button, and we'll be glad to talk to you to see if it makes sense for you. We'll help you assess where you're at in your career. If whatever we know that we can help you know what the next best strategy for you is. It can have it me or my team, or Deborah, or even if any of our guests, if you need to talk with somebody, let us know, get a strategy session in, and we'll be glad to help you. And just click that button there, or you can go to strategysession360.com/speakers, okay, or speaker, sorry, /speaker, and we'll take care of that. strategysession360.com/speaker. But to the right of this video on this page, you'll be able to click that, or if this is a YouTube video, you'll be able to click underneath in the description as well, and there'll be a link there. Anyway, so this was great having you guys. Justin, fantastic job. Ken, and of course, Dustin and Gail had to leave, but this has been fantastic. Deborah, any final words you'd like to share with everybody?
Yeah, I just want to say this is so much fun being part of this whole event. We're excited to be able to be speaking with all of these masters of the speaking world, all of these people here. And we're also very excited to invite you to have a strategy session and see if what we have to offer, what any of our guests have to offer is your next best strategy. We want to help you figure out what you should be working on next so that you can begin to explode your business as well. It's really important that you not get distracted by too many things, but you figure out what's that one thing. And that's what we're best at being able to help you sort out and identify. And we really want you to click on the button and speak to one of us or one of our team members, and we'll figure out what's the right thing for you to do now. And this has been lots and lots of fun. I thank our guests, even the ones who had to leave a little bit early. And I'm looking forward to our next Mega Hangout.
Okay, and lastly but not least, I'd like to thank Crystal, who is our Hangout producer here. Say hi, Crystal, everybody.
Thank you, Crystal.
Hi. My pleasure.
We really appreciate your time bringing everybody on and making sure everything went smoothly for the event. Anyway, thank you guys so much for being here. We hope this was helpful to you. Please reach out and let us know. We're about 1 minute before the 1 hour that we planned, so not bad timing. The show must go on, but at the same time, we got to keep it on time as much as possible. Thank you guys for being here. Hope to see you soon. If you guys need anything in the speaker author realm and you want to really strategize or work with some awesome, great mentors, masters, and people who have been there and have made it happen, then please reach out. We'd be glad to help you. Take care. We'll see you soon, and you guys have a blessed and awesome day.
Thanks.
Take care.